welcome to another Channel 6 special edition of Scoreboard. I'm Kelsey Williams and I'm joined by Mitchell Morgan and Michael Deere. Now guys, not exactly the start the Bears would have hoped for on the road against Samford, but
I told you.
it's all about looking forward right now. They take on Oklahoma State University on Saturday. They got 16 points against the Samford Bulldogs. What are we expecting to get against the Cowboys?
I think they have a great chance of eclipsing the 16-point mark, but they're going to have to do several things a lot better than they did against Samford. Number one, I'll start up front with the big guys, the offensive line. I think if you talk to any of the offensive linemen, they would say that they didn't have their best game. And Samford is a good defense. They're number one ranked in their conference, the Southern Conference, so that was a good test for them. They're now going to go up against a stronger, faster
Big 12.
Big 12 defense, and they're going to have to do a little bit better in not only just the run block, because, we saw at the very beginning Dominic Thomas in the offense, they gave the Bears a 7-0 lead. After that, the run game kind of diminished. Dominic Thomas got injured in the game. We didn't see very much of Beasley and the other guys, and then Taylor Reed just had to start throwing the ball. Well, when you become one-dimensional like that, Samford was teeing off, and they had matchups on defense that were in their favor as well. So
Talking about that, poor Dylan Winfrey, the height, the difference in height as well. When he was playing on defense against a guy that was about 6'2", coming straight off special teams. Not that he didn't have a chance, but that was hard enough for him.
Samford coaching staff did a great job of finding the matchups they had to take control of, and they did a great job of isolating those matchups, whether it be offense or defense. The Bears have a lot to work on. I think they're hungry, though. Coach Campbell said they have a bad taste in their mouth. I think they're ready to get back on the field and prove that they have not only made significant improvements, but that they're willing to go to Oklahoma State, and I think they can give them a great shot.
I do think they'll score more than 16 points. I think it all depends on Taylor Reed. They definitely have to you can't run 103 plays in a game. That was way too many against Samford. He talked about being one-dimensional. It kind of makes you wonder, is UCA the type of team that is kind of predictable? Do people know what kind of once you stop the running game, do we know what kind of passes we're going to throw? We have the deep threats with Jatavius Wilson and Desmond Smith, so you kind of eliminate that. So I think UCA needs to work on kind of disguising what they're going to run on offense, because it may become too predictable for some of these teams. But I do think they will score more than 16 against Oklahoma State. Taylor Reed will throw his first touchdown of the season because he didn't throw any against Samford. So
right.
I think he'll have one or two.
Well, 16 points was a little bit disappointing, and I'm sure all the guys out there didn't expect that coming at all. But now they're taking OSU. They're taking on a Big 12 opponent, a tougher opponent, but I think they are going to score more than 16 points. They know what they did wrong the first time. It's the first game, you've got a new team, you lost some big players like Desmond Lewis, who went to the NFL. And unfortunately, now they've lost senior Courtney Whitehead, who got a foot injury and seems to be out for the season now. So is anyone going to step up to replace him?
Yeah, I think they have a lot of options at wide receiver. That's probably the one spot where they can lose somebody and be like, okay, it's okay. We have people that can take a spot. Jatavius Wilson might have to step up and have more catches. I think Desmond Smith is going to play a lot better. It is the first game, and obviously a lot of them didn't stand out, but I do think they'll have a chance. Look for a lot of people to get some reps at wide receiver during the Oklahoma State game, just because it's against a bigger opponent. You're not really supposed to win the game, so I think this is a good chance for them to put somebody at his spot and realize who they're going to have for the rest of the season.
Great point. This is a game that you're going to be able to throw out some backup guys, other talented players, and they're going to be facing a good Big 12 opponent. UCA played at Texas Tech last year. They only lost by a touchdown. You can kind of say similar offenses. Texas Tech more air raid more so than Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State's kind of toned it down from the years of Dana Holgorsen. I think replacing Whitehead, like you said, is easier than most teams around the country. If they lost to senior leadership at wide receiver, did hurt them. Brady Moore, we saw him back at practice this week. He had a foot injury. Game one, did not play against Samford. 6'6". He's got track speed on the outside. That can be an advantage for UCA. And then Coach Campbell told me on Monday that Jacquez McMillan, he wants him to step up. He's a JUCO guy who's transferred in, so he's got the playing experience. He's played the bigger schools such as Oklahoma State before. I think he has to step up. And then not only in the wide receiver position, we talked about the running backs have to get involved too. Tight ends. I didn't see very much in the tight ends last week. Scott Madiaha and others. Got to get that seam, the seam route tight ends, the middle of the field. That's a big part of the game for UCA's offense. They've got to get that taken care of. Maybe what I saw last week just a point I would like to say, looked like at times during the UCA offense when they're on the field, everything was kind of close to the line of scrimmage. There wasn't much of a downfield passing game. If you do that and you don't have the running game to back it up, UCA was behind in the game, so they had to throw it more. That's when you kind of become one-dimensional, and that's when defensive ends for other teams are just coming off the line hard, and that's when maybe injuries at the quarterback position.
Well, I spoke to Ricky Wyatt earlier in the week at practice, and he said the biggest thing against OSU is going to be communication. Yeah. I mean, they lacked that against the Samford Bulldogs, and now they're going to OSU to play the Cowboys in a stadium that's about 60,000 people. The crowd noise, the music, it's going to be loud, and if you can't hear the plays that your defense or your offense want to do, they are really going to struggle.
It's going to be tough. It's going to be you going from a 6,000 seat stadium at Samford to now 60,000 plus at Oklahoma State. They were dealing with the crowd noise. They've obviously for practice they've been pumping in crowd noise. They've been playing other songs like that, band songs, and it obviously does make a difference. We were out there, and you have to. Not only are they holding up their signs and everything else, but they do have the communications if they're moving linebackers around in a defensive set. And communication is key because last week there were just times where UCA players they looked like they were lined up right, but then it was just out of position here, out of position there, and it wasn't big. It wasn't. I mean, the scores, the touchdowns that Samford scored, one-on-one, it was just they made a play over our guys made a play. This week, I think UCA is going to get back into the normal gist of things. I think they're going to work on the defensive front. That front seven is going to have a much better game than I think they did against Samford.
Playing at a big stadium, obviously the crowd noise is a huge factor. One thing that we failed to mention is they had 12 penalties at Samford, which is over 100 yards. And that's at
I think they said it was for about over 160 yards.
Yeah, that's unbelievable.
And that's at a 6,000, seat stadium. And so at 60,000, I mean, who knows what you're going to hear on the field, how many false counts you're going to hear, go offside. So that could be a huge problem to look out for. See if we can minimize that, and hopefully, 12 is just a huge number to have.
You can't beat anybody with that many turnovers. No. If you have any sort of turnovers and that many penalties, you're so far behind as it is.
Well, I spoke to Brandon Cox as well, and he said that they just need to believe in the scheme that the coaches have. They need to trust them and believe in what they want to do, and hopefully it's going to work out. I don't think Coach Campbell, they want to say they're going to win. They've got to be realistic. They're going to get close. If they win, it's going to be close, I think. I don't think they're going to blow out OSU.
Right.
But even if they do lose, if they can take positives from the game and it's a close margin like against the Texas Tech with one touchdown, I think you've got to be happy with that. Then you've got the bye week coming in before the Southland Conference where you can fix up things that you might have done wrong against the Samford Bulldogs and against OSU and be a real threat in the Southland Conference.
Yeah, last year the bye week was at the end of the season. This year the bye week's near the front, and I think that's going to work out perfectly for them. They're going to need this bye week not only to get healthy. They got some players that were banged up against Samford that we're going to see. Dominic Thomas, he's going to be back. But they're going to use this bye week because then you're right back into conference play, and it's on the road. So that's 3 straight opening games on the road. Coach Campbell, I think, has the right idea with this team. Like we said earlier, this is a good chance to see what other depth positions you have, or what other positions you have great depth at. So in the long run, UCA, yes, they want to win this game, obviously, but to keep this close would not only be a building block for them coming off the game they had week 1, but it also get them ready for the bye week, get some things down, because then conference season starts. That's when it gets real. I mean, non-conference, you can say all you want. Yeah, 0-2. You don't want to start that way, but you can afford to lose those games. You can't afford to start losing conference games.
Yeah, I think the secondary is something that they need to focus on during the bye week for sure. They gave up over 300 yards to Samford in the first half. Obviously, you're not going to be able to do that against these Southland teams who have really explosive offensive. I mean, if you just look at the Southland Conference, the teams that UCA plays bring back a lot of people. I know Sam Houston State brings back 19 starters from the team last year that made it all the way to the national championship game. And so, the schedule.
And there's a lot of strong contenders in the Southland Conference.
Yeah,
it's one of those conferences that people can't sleep on.
Yeah,
you've got Southeastern Louisiana.
Lamar is going to be better. Abilene Christian, they
beat UCA.
Yeah, they beat UCA last year. Luckily, we played them at home. And Northwestern State's always a team that kind of, can be good or not good. And then
Stephen F. Austin, too.
That one team, that one game we all have circled on the schedule is SFA, and who knows how that game's going to turn out.
When ex-UCA football coach Clint Conk comes back to UCA on the stripes.
Maybe we'll break a sellout.
Attendance record for that one.
Yeah, sure.
Well, we all agree that the UCA Bears are going to hopefully get more than 16 points this time. Mm-hmm. Give me a score prediction. What are we aiming for?
Well, Oklahoma State, they're going to spread the ball, spread the field. J.W. Walsh, they do have a dual-threat quarterback. However, I do think Jonathan Woodard, who was double-teamed and chipped and taken care of against Samford, going to have a better game this week. I think the defense as a whole, they've got a chip on their shoulder. I mean, for lack of a better, last week was pretty embarrassing for them.
The whole team has a chip on their shoulder.
Yeah.
They want to come out, almost have revenge. They've got a tough team, but they don't want to score 16 points again.
I think UCA scores more than 16. I think the final score around Oklahoma State 49, UCA 20.
All right, Mitch. What are you
42 to
predicting?
17.
42-17.
I'll give them. I say they score more than 16, but only by one.
And you say
that's a
Taylor
bit
Reed
harsh.
gets his first touchdown pass of the year. I think that
He gets 2.
I think Brandon Cox will score his first touchdown as a UCA Bear.
Well, I'm going to say 42 OSU to 20 UCA. I don't think I
How
can
was
give.
mine harsh, and you only give them 3 more points?
Well, 17's only 1 more point than 16, so I think you got to
Well,
give them
it's
a little bit more credit. But
two
I think it's going to be a
touchdowns,
tough game for them. I just want the Bears to go out there and really see improvements from the last game and take some positives away from it. I think that's
right.
the main idea.
Yeah, that's what Coach Campbell would want. They just got to correct the things they did last week because he said they're all fixable, they're all easy, and they all know it too. And you know they're eager to get back in the field and put things together, and hopefully everybody stays healthy.
Well, thanks for joining me, Michael, and thanks for joining me, Mitchell. And thank you for tuning in for another special edition of Channel 6 Scoreboard.